episode, we're going to be talking about smoked salt and why it's important and why you should use it. Hey everyone, I'm Vishon, the Tough Mama.
Hey everyone, my name is Chef Claudia.
So to kick us off, I wanted to share a little background history on where we believe smoked salt started. So some of you are really into Viking heritage, and that's really where it came from. It's believed that the Vikings are the first ones to utilize smoked salt. So how did they do it? Well, some historians have said that when they come ashore on their Viking voyages, the first thing that they usually needed was fresh water. So they would build a campfire and they would use the seawater, boil that over the campfire, so that they had fresh water, boils out the salt and everything else. Well, some of that salt water would splash onto the logs around the fire, maybe deliberately, maybe on accident is what they're thinking. That the water would evaporate, and what was left behind was the salt crystals on those logs the next morning. Well, because of the smoke from the fire, it would infuse that salt with the smoke. They would then take their knives, their axe, whatever they had for a weapon, and scrape that off of the log, and they would use it in the preservation of fish or game meats that they might have hunted, and also just to season their food. So it has a storied history.
It's very interesting. Coming from a chef's perspective, you want those flavors from the different woods to help infuse your dishes overall. So here at TUFF Momma Salt Craft, we have a variety of smoked salts to help you with infusing your dishes. If you want to incorporate, we have about 6 of them here. Yeah, sounds about right. So we have about 6 smoky salts at the moment to help you with your culinary needs.
Of the 6 salts that we have, not all of them are equal. We use different woods for different salts to give a different flavor profile. So for example, I'll just start off with one of my favorite. This one is called Smoke and Wine. This was our first smoked salt that we introduced at TUFF Momma Salt Craft back in 2019. What's special about it? We smoke this salt over Chardonnay wine barrels. And that beautiful flavor of the Chardonnay gets infused into the salt, and it makes it for the perfect steak salt. So if you're looking for a great fillet of your favorite steak cut, this is a great one to finish your meat with after you've done cooking, and you're going to taste the goodness of that Chardonnay wine in the salt. So just know that we use a different salt base for all of our smoked salts as well. This particular one uses the Fleur de Sel, which is that salt we talked about in a previous video about how it melts in your mouth. So you wouldn't cook with this salt. You would use it after you've already cooked your meat. Another one I want to talk about is our smoked apple wood salt. We smoke this one over aged apple wood, and it is absolutely delicious on any sweeter meats such as pork or chicken. It's going to elevate the flavor of that. I've even used it on whitefish as well. It gives it a really nice flavor, or salmon also. And if you're into swordfish or shark, if you haven't tried those, they're a nice steaky type meat. This is a really good enhancement for that also. Then we get into our smoked cherry, smoked over aged cherry wood. What's really great about this one, it's that big flaky Malden sea salt that we get from Cyprus. This one, it's just got a nice crunch. I love this one on pork chops. It's really good on roasted vegetables or potatoes. I've also put it on chicken. I'm sure you can use your imagination, but it's got that sweeter kind of cherry flavor to it naturally. Now we get into our most robust salt. This is our Ozark Campfire. We had some of our customers say, you know what, we want one that's even smokier than the ones you've produced. So we got you covered. With this one, we actually smoke this salt for over a week, usually a different wood every day for 7 days. And sometimes you have to do an 8th smoking depending on the weather conditions. But this particular salt is so delicious on any red meats. I love it on brisket. It's really good on, if you're doing like a roast or something like that. You can cook with this one. I used a salt. I believe I used a French Gray. Yeah, that's right, French Gray for the Ozark Campfire, and that one gives it a really good flavor and lots of good minerals as well. Now we get into some of our blends. This is our smoky citrus. We use a hickory smoked salt. This one's a coarse grain. What's really cool about this, we also have lemon, lime, and orange zest inside of here, and fresh cracked black pepper. This salt is specifically made for those of you who like seafood, shrimp. It could go on whitefish or redfish. It's also good on chicken if you're not into seafood. That lemon and lime flavor on chicken is absolutely delicious. And I have many of my customers say they love this one on vegetables as well. And then finally, we get into our maple bacon salt. This is our #1 bestseller, hands down. Who doesn't love bacon? But this one is a very, very fine grain. You can cook with this one. And it is a bacon smoked salt. We smoke it with maple wood. And then we actually use like a rice flour to bind the flavor of the bacon. It's meatless, believe it or not. It tastes just like real bacon, but it is completely vegetarian. That doesn't mean that if you are not a vegetarian, you can't have it, because I tell you what, you won't be able to tell the difference. And I love it because it's shelf stable too, so you don't have to refrigerate it. If it was real meat, you would. So it's really nice, and it gives that great flavor. That gives you all of our smoked salts.
I'm going to show you how to use some of my favorite smoky salts that I like to cook with. My favorite one is probably the smoky citrus. I use that on vegetables, mainly my vegetables actually. I just like that crunch. Let me reiterate. I really like this on broccoli specifically. So broccoli is my favorite vegetable. So is my son's. But anyways, we like to add this to that broccoli to give it a little bit of that extra crunch. My son likes it. He's 2 years old. It's a little bit spicy, but not too much. It gives it that really nice flavor, and it does have a little zing.
It has that black pepper in it, so
yeah.
It's nothing like a jalapeno or anything.
No.
Black pepper.
It's just a little bit of a zing, but it's really flavorful with that citrus taste too. The next one that I like is the smoked apple. If you can see it here, it's really good on pork chops. If you're going to either do it in-house or if you're going to go and do it like in a grill, it's really good. It gives it that really that oomph flavor with that smokiness. This is really good. Not only that, but it tends to make it a lot more juicier, I feel like. The next one that I like is also the Ozark Campfire. This is probably my husband's favorite one, and my eldest son's. We really like this on chicken when we do our grilling. So this one it has amazing flavor. It
hits different.
It really does. And if someone opens it in my kitchen, I will immediately smell it. I will. And I know when my kids are going over there and smelling all my salt. That's how I know. But yes, smoking salts is a fairly easy process. You just need wood, you need your salt, and a lot of patience. Even though it's a simple process, it's not always the easiest. We're going to let Vashon here explain a little bit about what she's gone through in her little journey and why it's not always the easiest thing to do.
Sure, thank you. So I have to share that when I got into smoked salts, I actually had received a gift of a smoked salt from France, and I loved it. And I couldn't find any place that had that same flavor. So I said, I'll figure it out. I'll make my own. And so originally I just bought some sea salt at the grocery store, and I put it on a cookie sheet, and then I put it on the grill, lit the grill, and I threw some different oak wood in there on the grill so it would make a nice flavor. And I left it for a little bit, and I come back to stir it. Well, it was a hot grill. So guess what? All of the salt melted, and it turned into what looked like glass. And I'm like, well, this is not edible. So that was a disaster. But I got better. Then we got a really nice grill that had pellet wood smoker. Some of you probably have a really nice pellet wood smoker. And you can do something called cold smoke, which is where the fire's not underneath the salt. It's actually blowing the smoke in, but the heat source is elsewhere. Okay, so I had a really nice grill. I'm not going to say the name because, I don't think you need to know that. But basically, salt is corrosive. I don't know if you knew this, but it is extremely corrosive. For those that live by the sea, you know that it rusts out a car. It will definitely rust out a grill in less than 6 months. So a very expensive grill was completely rusted out. It was stainless steel, completely rusted out in 6 months or less because of the sheer amount of salt that I was smoking.
Sure. Yeah.
So here was how we finally came to be now, and we have a variety of smoked salts, is because I have a wonderful husband who's a handyman, and we had this big conversation about how he could build me a smoker. So he did. He built me a cedar smoke box. It's a cold smoke box, and it's lined with aluminum, which, if you don't know, aluminum won't rust. It's non-rusting, so it can't corrode from the salt. It's perfect. And everything that we use to do the salt, the trays that we use for the salt, is all made out of aluminum so that it doesn't rust. So now I can smoke up to 50 pounds of salt in one setting without it turning to glass and without it rusting out my smoker. And it's turned into some amazing salts like we spoke of earlier. So every salt we use is different as far as for what purpose. So we don't always use pink Himalayan salt, for example. We use a variety of different salts from around the world, and I've tested them and learned which ones work best for which smokes and which ones really don't turn out so good. And it's been a lot of experimentation, a lot of fun.
Sure, that's natural.
I'm sorry, it's okay.
So if you would like to incorporate a little bit of Viking history into your culinary journey, be sure to grab some of our TUFF Momma salts, and you don't have to worry about rusting out your grill. Just go on over to our website and get yourself a little bit of our smokiness. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so we can keep bringing you some great content in the future.